Hey everyone, here's my example video on a simple way to understand 4D, an easy way to understand four-dimensional space, and this is the method that I use or that I prefer to use in the example to understand four-dimensional space. Now, just to tell you guys that four-dimensional space is the extension of three-dimensional space. So how can you see four-dimensional space when there's a maximum of three perpendicular coordinates and that it doesn't have a fourth perpendicular coordinate? Well, there is, but you can't see it. So how can I explain to you? So what's a simple way to understand 4D, guys? What's a simple way to understand 4D? Now, my simple way to understand 4D space is imagine a glass sphere or a metal sphere or anything like that. A glass sphere, for example. Now, there's a light beam trapped inside the glass sphere. So you have a glass sphere and there's a light beam trapped inside it. Okay? Alright, so there's a light beam trapped inside the glass sphere. Now, ask yourself the following question. At which specific straight direction does that light beam have to travel so it doesn't break through the glass sphere but skips it? Which specific straight direction does this light beam have to travel? The answer is 4D. You have to have 4D space for this to work. Otherwise, the light beam can never escape. The light beam is a four-dimensional laser. And the sphere is a three-dimensional object. So, what I can describe to you, for example, is that imagine the glass sphere. Now, inside the glass sphere, so you have the glass sphere. You have the glass sphere, and inside the glass sphere, at the center of the glass sphere, is a floating light beam. Now, the laser is the light beam. Now, when it shoots, like in a straight laser line. This is a four-dimensional laser, meaning that not only does the light beam travel in the direction that is corrected so it doesn't break through the glass sphere but skips it, it also extends in that direction in its geometry. The direction of its extension is also that direction. So this might sound confusing, but that's exactly what 4D is. In fact, you need at least 3 spatial dimensions to have a vision, to see, to have awareness, size, volume, location. Then to be at least 3 spatial dimensions. You can might extend to 4. But what we can see is just 3. We can't see 2 because back we can see what 2D is. True 2D is actually, what you see as 2D is still 3D. You can't even see 1D, since that would also be 2D itself, So you can't see that, just unperceivable to see true 1D or true 2D or something like that. You might see 2D, you might see true 2D, for example, but the example I'm putting here, guys, is that the light beam is trapped inside the glass sphere. And so because it's trapped inside the glass sphere, you just tell yourself the question. Now it's trapped inside the sphere. Now can only go in a straight direction. Now, at which specific straight direction does the light beam have to travel so it doesn't break through the sphere but skips it? Once the light beam does that, I like to call this direction B1 and B0 direction. Okay, now, basically what 4D is basically the whole purpose of 4D is trying to find the direction that is perpendicular to all 3 perpendicular directions that I'm moving to right now. And there is, but I cannot point to it. Meaning that right now, if there were the 4th perpendicular direction, say the W-axis, x-axis is perpendicular to y-axis, which is perpendicular to z-axis. X, y, and z are perpendicular to each other at right angles, 90 degrees, perpendicular to each other. 3-dimensional space. But if there's a w-axis, a fourth perpendicular direction, I cannot point to it. Despite it starts from this space, as soon as it moves, I cannot point to where it is now. I cannot point to that 4D w-axis, no matter where I point. It's still going to be 0, even if I were to draw an arrow all around the sphere, it will still be nothing. I will not even move the dent into the 4D w-axis, you see. Well, I can't, I can't see it because it's outside of mine and your spectrum, you see, it's outside of the spectrum in total, you see. So the whole purpose of trying to visualize this for example, that the light beam, as soon as it escapes the glass sphere, it's not going to be outside where the sphere is. It will be in a different dimension, place entirely. Yeah, trust me, it'll be in a different place entirely. Now, the concept of the phrase where entering the fourth dimension isn't a state of saying that the fourth dimension is a place. It's a state of saying a state of that you've just perceived in the W axis. Either one, two opposites of the W axis. That's literally what you're saying right now. Saying something like this, like I went to the fourth dimension is just by saying that I traveled to the W axis. You see, if I take a book, for example, and the book fell in the fourth dimension, it's not the fact that it's going to a place. Well, it is a place in some sense. What it's saying is basically that the book has traveled, some coordinates has traveled in the W axis. That's what you're saying right now. And when you travel to the W axis, you cannot return back to the previous axis that you were in with only your 3D space. You cannot do that. So, the thing is right here is that the light beam is now in a different place entirely. However, interesting concept is, guys, is that many believe that if you saw your world from the fourth dimensional point of view, you will actually see all of the world at once. However, there's actually two parts to this. And I don't think that this is in fact, there's two parts to this. And it's completely not true in one of the parts. In one part is if you think the world from a 4D point of view with the 4D vision, yes, then you will still see the world. However, if you think the world from a 4D point of view with a 3D vision, you won't see the world at all, because the world does not have a side on the 4D, so you're not going to see anything at all. Actually, you're not going to see any extension to 4D if you only have the 3D vision. If you saw the 4D world, if you saw the 3D world, I mean, from a 4D point of view with a 4D vision, then yeah, you will still see the world along with that specific side. I'm not sure if that's even a word though. Well, along with that side that doesn't allow you to see the world, and along with the 4D side which allows you to see the world. The reason why you cannot see the world in 3D point of view from the 3D view from the 4D point of view is because the world is 3D. And there is no side. If you did see the world, then that means that there was a secret side of the world that is invisible to our spectrum, which is not the case, since our world is 3D. I actually heard the fact that the world might be 9-dimensional space, not 4-dimensional space, meaning that there's 9 perpendicular directions, each that I cannot point to. You know, I cannot point to any of them at all, actually. So that's the specific nature about how 4D will be, guys, you see. You see what I mean, guys? So that's the thing, you know, I cannot point to it, you know. So in fact, the world from the 3D point of view is a world, or the world, or let's say a cube from the 4D point of view with a 3D view will be invisible, and you can never see the cube, nor can you see the space that the cube is contained in, because that space is a 3D. Actually, you might still not convinced about the space around the cube, however, but you can't see the cube because there is no side that is on the 4D. So you can't see the cube. If you're on the 4D point of view, you could rotate all around, but you'll still not see the cube at all, because there is no 4D extension. However, if you saw the cube from the 4D point of view with a 4D vision, then you will see the cube in that. If it's that way, in that way, you will see the cube, because you would actually have two visions. At the 4D being, if you're 4D, you would actually have two visions, not one. Actually, in fact, with 3D, we've not seen true 2D, because, you know, for 2D to exist, it has to be 0, which would not make the vision. And yeah, you could try something on the, like seeing, of course, on the flat screen, but then again, you could still sort of tell the depths from somehow like that, you know, unless you draw some extremely flat picture and look at it from the top. I'm still convinced that you might still have some concept of 3D in that sense as well. So true 2D is almost impossible, you see. So at the 4D point of view, you would have two visions. You could either see, if I was a 4D being, I could see the world exactly how I see it, you see it at the 3D world, and I could see different spaces that you cannot see at the same time. I would have two visions, the 4D vision, which also contains the 3D vision as well, and the 3D vision itself, you see. So meaning that it's the case, you see. No. So about the sphere, let's wrap up the sphere for a bit. So what I meant by this, make it more clear. To make this more understandable, let me speak to you about the sphere to make it more simple to understand. Now the sphere is a three-dimensional object. Now the light beam that's trapped inside it is a four-dimensional laser, you see. Now, there is no direction that the light beam that we can see, there is no direction that the laser can travel in a straight direction so it does not break through the sphere but skips it, because all the sphere is closed around the light beam. However, if we add 4D to this, the light beam, which the 4D laser, can now travel in a direction that I cannot point to, and therefore escape the sphere. Hence, it has even escaped the sphere at the slightest dent. Literally, guys, it does not need to travel a couple of inches in the fourth dimension to escape the sphere. Even the smallest inch, it has already escaped, because there is no extension to 4D on the sphere. The sphere is 3D, you see. So that's the simple. That's the simple, guys. If you really want more understanding for this, guys, I will link a video that I created back in days with a different account. My video, because you can tell that's me. Same shirt and everything. There is the video down in the description box down below, guys, to make this simple to understand, and hope that this will do good. And I might link. So yeah, that video might give a better, clear, simple image of this. Not different way to understand it. So anyways, guys, I do hope you enjoyed the video. See you later, guys. Bye.